And then I'll go ahead and read the mission statement if I can find it. This is funny. Technical difficulties. Let's see. Here we go. Our mission: Helping Parents Heal is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background, and allow for open dialogue. Attendance today at the Helping Parents Heal meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Doris to introduce Terri Ann. And thanks.
Hey, welcome everyone. It's so nice to see some familiar faces on here. Hey, baby. So Terri, I actually, before I start with her bio, I want to share with you guys how I found her. I found her through a podcast by Simon Brown, who's from the UK, who does a lot of it was Simon Brown, right, Terri?
Yes.
Yeah. And he does a lot of afterlife phenomenon, all kinds of guests he has. So when I was listening to Terri and she was telling her story, I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder if she's on Helping Parents Heal. So I went in and I looked, and she was on Helping Parents Heal. So I thought it was really important that we introduce her and talk about her journey and what she has been doing. So Terri is a multi-dimensional healer. She channels past life regression and medium that works in Sedona, Arizona. She's a mother of 5. She has one son, Anthony, who is now in spirit. He's her main guide at the moment. In July of 2019, he transitioned suddenly from a medical complication. And as quick as he departed, he returned to help her through the grieving and healing process. I'm getting goosebumps, Terri. He's here.
He's here.
God, he's around us. In July of 2000, okay, I said that. In the healing, she is the author of a book, From Death to Life: The Incredible True Story of Anthony Joseph, which was published in April of 2020. Less than a year after Anthony transitioned, this book took her on a voyage of self-discovery and healing so that she can now teach others healing, and truly that we are always connected to our loved ones who have passed on. So Terri, I'm going to let you finish off telling us a little bit more of the things that you're doing, and then we'll take questions about 30 minutes after.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm so grateful and honored to share about my son and our journey together. As you said, it was quick, and it was from a medical complication. Just July of 2019, he passed. And we had just celebrated his 27th birthday in Vegas all together, my whole family, my sons, my daughters, my parents. And he was healthy. He was happy. He never complained of any illness or anything. So it was a total shock. About 3 weeks later, I was guided again to go see him. He lived in Flagstaff, which is about an hour from me. And he said, "Why are you here again?" And I said, I was just guided to come up and spend some time with you. So it was a quick visit. He was working. He had just said that he was tired. 3 days later, we had gotten a knock at the door from an officer that he had passed suddenly. They were still investigating why, what happened. His roommate was with him. What it came down to was that he was sick. He started getting sick with a fever on Sunday. By Tuesday, he had gone to urgent care. They diagnosed him with a stomach bug diagnosis at 5 o'clock. And 4 hours later, he couldn't breathe. His roommate called 911. And when they arrived, he was still alive. They tried to work on him to resuscitating, but they couldn't. So it was very sudden, very quick, unexpected. And then, so that was 2 o'clock in the morning. I had gotten the officer at the house. Not long after, he started coming to me and screaming at me. And it was very difficult for me to hear him at that time because I was so much in shock. That he was screaming, "I'm okay, Mom, I'm okay." And I was like, "No, this isn't happening. You know, I just saw you. This is not possible." And so it was a complete shock to all of us. If you go back a little bit, I sort of had a pre-shattering, which I call my daughter, who's 11. She was born very sickly with a similar condition that Anthony passed with, and she bled internally for about 3 years, and while traditional medicine failed us. So I was searching for alternative methods to heal her, and that's how I got started in Reiki. And she's about 4 years hospital free now with no blood transfusion. She's had over 40 blood transfusions and 4 surgeries. And her doctors are astounded. So, you know, Reiki energy healing is my true love. It saved me through this crisis and through grieving with Anthony, and it helped shift a lot of things for me as well. I lost. Oh.
So I don't know if Doris wants to jump in. But
yeah, I was just saying, do you want to talk a little bit about, like, you know, the place that you work at right now in Sedona and the things that you've been doing besides the Reiki?
Yeah, I do a lot of multidimensional healing. In 2018, I spent a lot of time training. It was a year of growth for me. So before Anthony passed, I spent tons and tons of time training. Early 2019, I was like, I'm going to put this into play. And we were living up here outside of Sedona already. And I was sitting on a mountain meditating in the airport vortex up here. And I heard Sedona Soul Sisters, go see Roz. And I made an appointment to see Roz, who's one of my partners now. And I walked in and I said, I heard your name from my guides and I'm here to talk with you. And I said, you're going to think I'm crazy, but I had not heard of them. And I pulled this out of the air, you know? So I walk in and she's like, oh, you're not crazy, you know? So that's how I met them. Ivory, Roz, me and Melissa all worked together as Sedona Soul Sisters in Sedona. They were also a piece that was put into place for me to have that support after Anthony passed. Part of that soul contract, a lot of things I talk about and a lot of work that I do now has to do with soul contracts. That piece was put into place for me before he passed so that I would have that support in the physical world. And, you know, I have to tell you, it was such a devastating blow, and we are all psychic mediums. Roz and Ivory have been doing this for over 30 years. Nobody had any inkling. It was very kept secret from all of us. You know, Roz is able to tell when somebody's going to pass. And so none of us had any inkling that anything was going to happen. It was a complete shock. And that also turns out was part of our soul contract. So a lot of the work I do now has to do with a lot of soul contract stuff, the past life regression. Before he passed, I got heavily into the past life regression, interlife regression, you know, looking at lives in between lives in spirit, you know, other lives on other planets and other times. So I spent a lot of time working with clients on those experiences.
So you did that prior to him passing?
Yes.
Like, you were already a spiritual person. You were already doing your thing. So what type of communications did you have with him?
So I'm very sentient. I feel a lot in my body. Being an energy healer, I'm able to, when I meet with somebody, feel where their blockages are. I'm also clairaudient, so I hear a lot. And my clairvoyance, which is seeing, is not that strong. Although I have seen images, I do get images, blasts of images here and there, and I do dream a lot. So my clairvoyance has actually strengthened through this experience as well. Um, so I'm clairsentient and clairaudient. I feel him and I hear him. In the beginning, he was very prevalent with coming in, speaking to me, helping me to be able to get up and to function daily, to help my daughter. Um, and I would keep saying to him, I can't believe you're dead. I can't believe you're not here. And he'd say, I'm not dead. I'm still here. What don't you get? And I'm like, as a spiritual person, I understood where he was. I understood that he was okay. But as a human mother, I struggled with those two pieces of me. As a human mother who's lost my child now, I had a hard time. And because of our connection, it was sort of like I had one foot in this world and one foot in another world. So I wasn't really ever fully in one place, if that makes sense.
So, what, like when you would have communications with him after, or no, it was before, right? Because you were told to go there and check on him. And then you had no idea that that was going to happen. And then afterwards, what type of communications have you had with him?
Well, always the book is very channeled. That whole book was very healing and very cathartic for me. I did not want to write this book. About 4 months in, he would yell at me, get up and write this book. And I was like, I can't do it. I just can't get out of bed. I wasn't eating. I wasn't sleeping. I was barely functioning at that point. And he said to me, you've got to write this book. You've got to do it. So slowly I would get up and I would start to connect with him and go into a meditation. And so it's interesting. Our experience is that he can come into my world anytime that he wants, but I can also go visit him at his world. So he taught me a specific practice that I share in the book, that I can go meet with him at any time. And so I do share that because I think it's very important for other parents to know. Through this book, what he's taught me a lot was that, being a medium, it was very natural for me to connect with spirit. We're not going to need mediums where we're going because we're ascending very quickly. Everybody's able to connect on one level or another. We're all intuitive beings. So as we grow and expand, we're going to be getting more and more abilities that are clear to others. And that's one of his messages in the book, as well as hope. To have hope.
So what thoughts do you have to improve our dream visits? Because like I have a lot of dream visits with Ashley, and they're very like, I see her. Like the last one I had, we were having a tea party, and I don't know why we were having a tea party, because she didn't like tea. So but I mean, and I see her just the way she was on a daily basis.
Dreams are one of the easiest ways for spirit to connect with us. So they do come into our dreams a lot. Anthony visits me on the month anniversary of his passing. I've had 16 dream visits from him, each one expanding upon the other, and then growing and expanding and growing and expanding. Dream visits are different from your typical visit. They feel different. They feel very real. It's like they're here. I could feel him. He would hug me and I could feel him hug me. And I would wake up with this peace that would surround me. I knew he was in my dream. And so for others to connect, it's really a lot about intention, setting that intention. And it may not happen the first time I explain to my clients. You may have to continually every night set these intentions, raise your frequency to be able to meet them in that place where they are. But you can easily set your intentions, do meditation before you go to bed to help expand your abilities, be very rested and peaceful. And don't get upset if it doesn't happen the first couple of times.
So what was Anthony's personality like? That he would like, why do you think he left the planet so early?
Oh, he completed his soul contract. He was very adamant that it wasn't malpractice. It wasn't an accident, because I was like, it has to be a malpractice because they diagnosed him wrong. Had to be an accident. And he's like, stop. It was none of those. I completed my contract. You understand this. Anthony, from a young child, was very different. Him and my daughter, both out of all my children, are very different than my other children. They both told me at a young age, 2 or 3 years old, that they chose me to be their mom. And so that knowledge I've learned later on. I mean, when he told me I wasn't spiritual at all, I was like, okay, cool. But, that knowledge comes when you have a very old soul. And Anthony was a very kind, loving, caring man. He would help anybody. After I knew the person that he was, but after he passed, the amount of people that reached out to me, even from like elementary school, or teachers that taught him in school, that reached out to me and shared story after story after story, how he helped them through something in their life, and how he made such an impact in their life. And for me as a mother, it was wonderful to hear all of that about my son that I knew, but I didn't know him fully on a soul level like that. So it was part of his contract.
How did you get involved in soul contracts? Like, what took you there? Like, I still am not in the soul contract place yet.
So having had a connection to spirit, I've had connection to spirit since I was young, and I turned it off. I would think that when I was a young child, that I would make bad things happen. Like I would say, oh, well, grandma's going to pass away. And then she would pass away. And I would be like, oh my God, that's hard. Like, why did you even think something like that? I had nobody that could help me understand what those intuitive messages I was getting. So I turned it off and I blocked it for a long, long time. And then going forward, it was like I had this overwhelming urge. And this is one thing that I teach my clients as well. If you have this overwhelming urge, this thing that keeps coming back to you, like, Reiki or energy healing or helping, I always had this overwhelming urge to look into. I was like, there has to be this connection for past lives. Like I would meet people and I would instantaneously feel. My friend Leslie's on here tonight, but she's one of them. She is in my soul family. And I can tell you, when we met, our eyes connected, and we connected through helping parents heal. And I knew instantly that was a soul contract as well. So I always had this overwhelming urge to look more into it. It was something that really interested me.
So who did you read about soul contracts? Like, how did you, like, what?
Nobody. It came to me. I just
Really?
studied under Dolores Cannon. There was a woman that taught, it's called BQH, Beyond Quantum Healing. And it just came to me. It showed up. I don't even remember how it showed up, but it showed up. And I was like, oh, this something really interests me. And I told a girlfriend of mine. So we did it together. And actually, it was really fun. And at that time, like I said, it was just an interest that I had. Like, there has to be some other connection here. There has to be something that I'm missing, something that I'm not understanding or not seeing. Because these feelings I don't get them with everybody, obviously, but there are people that I've gotten these feelings with that I know you somehow. I feel like we have this connection, and I'm not sure where that's coming from. So that's what drove me to find out more.
So do you believe that like all of our kids are connected right now?
Absolutely. They're all here. They're all here.
That's Elizabeth swears by that. I agree though. I think they're here too, because I'm getting so many goosebumps. Now, one of the things when I went onto your website, I saw that you do angel readings. Is it angel readings? And we did one, right?
We did a goddess reading.
A goddess reading. And so explain a little bit more about that, because it's different from tarot reading, right?
Yes, it's nothing. I don't do tarot. It's nothing like tarot. Angel readings, I'm very attached. So I grew up, let's go back. I grew up very Catholic, Catholic Italian family. So very strict Catholic. So I grew up with this natural accustomed to angels. I was always accustomed and connected to Mother Mary, Archangel Michael, we talked about a lot. So I knew who they were. And as my abilities grew, I connected more with angels. But there's goddesses also as well. And I like the goddess energy because for women, it's very empowering. You know, I'm all about empowering women, helping them heal, teaching them from a young age, like my daughter's age, you know, the ability to heal ourselves. We have that ability in us. We've not been taught that, but we have that ability within us. So angel card readings and goddess card readings or psychic information that comes through, as well as this physical card to share with you. And that's what we had in your goddess reading.
It was so amazing. I like really loved that. And I appreciate you doing that. So we're about, well, we got a little bit longer to go if you want to explore some more things that you want to share with us.
Yeah, you know, what I've learned being an energy healer, I was really surprised about the physical aspect of grief. You know, having not lost anybody, my grandparents were well into their 80s and 90s when they passed. So you can say like, oh, they had a great life. And yes, I miss them very much, but I didn't have that physical pain that I had when Anthony passed. And the physical heaviness in my chest, I couldn't breathe. I felt like somebody was sitting on my chest. That grief and that pain, I felt like somebody ripped my heart out. And so working through that, I had to use energy healing a lot, go to other healers as well to help me lift that energy. Um, and that cloudy brain that we all get as grieving parents, it's the same thing. It's like it's called fog. It's a real thing, you know. And so these physical ailments come through this mental emotional aspect of us. So I think it's important for people to know that, you know, grieving is also a process. It's a process of going through and feeling that pain and that loss, not squashing it or burying it, but feeling it and knowing that your child wants you to heal. They love you, they miss you, they want you to heal, they want you to expand from this experience.
I agree 100%. So we have so many questions and so many people are saying things in here. This is my first time grabbing all of these.
Okay.
So let me see if I can go to, oh, Anna says, do you ask him to dream visit you? I've had 2 dream visits from one son, not from my second son, Frankie, who accidentally OD'd. So she gets 1 dream visit from one son, but not the other.
Yeah, well, their abilities are very different. What I've learned through Anthony is, and I didn't know this before him passing, every spirit has different abilities also, just like we have different abilities. So they're learning to work with that energy. So they may not be able to yet use that as a way to communicate with you. So he may be, you know, a younger soul where he doesn't know all of those. You know, some spirits can move things. Some can leave you feathers, dimes, quarters, things like that. You know, Anthony can like set off the smoke alarm in the house. You know, so those are different types of energies that they use, and they learn them as they grow.
Yeah,
Hope that's helpful.
I just had one of those. I had my daughter's son here, and I have these, I don't know if you can see these Christmas lights behind me. And when he came, one of them were like flickering. And to me, she does a lot of that here. So I said, he says, Nana, look, you know, it's flickering, it's flickering. And I said, I bet you that's Mama. And he goes, yeah, I think. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And then I go, she's trying to talk to us. That's how they communicate to us. And he's only going to be 5, so he doesn't quite understand it all. But he seems like he's pretty content. Like he's not like real emotional anymore. And it's been 10 months. So I went into the bedroom to do something, and he comes screaming into the bedroom, Nana, 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 come look, come look, come look. I'm like, what? The lights are on. So they stopped flickering and they went completely 100% on. So I totally agree with you with that.
That's wonderful. I'm so happy to hear that, though.
Yeah, I love it. iPhone Kathy from California, can you do between life virtually? Past life regression virtually?
Virtually, yes, I do all of my work virtually except for the mediumship sessions right now because they're still very overwhelming for me, with my grief and my clients' grief. So I limit those to in person, but you can do them virtually. They work just the same. I would have you, prepare beforehand, do some visualization and stuff like that.
So how long are your past life regressions?
They usually typically run about 2 hours. By the time we do the intake, get all the questions that they have, go through the induction and stuff like that, and go through the healing, because out of them, there's actually a lot of healing that comes through.
Yeah, definitely. I just had one recently. Let's see. There's some other really, really great things that are being said here. I can resonate so much with Terri. Thank you. I fully believe in soul contracts. It does turn everything around when we can grasp that this is the path that is chosen and something to honor versus tragedy. What do you think about that?
I do, a lot that I talk about now is the beauty that came out of that pain, that horrific pain that I felt when, my child's not here in the physical with us anymore, and that you've all experienced, but that beauty that came from it, being able to have that connection with him, being able to share him with people like everybody tonight, honoring him in that way to help him to help me so that I can help others, being of service. That's what truly our life mission is while we're here, is how can we be of service? How can we be more of the light to help other people on their path as well?
So do you have any like examples of how we can figure out what our purpose is and how we can honor our children?
Well, your purpose, so everybody, your purpose can be very simple. Some people, it's as simple of just loving themselves. It may be through that. I always say, this is my true belief, and it's my experience and my experience with my clients, is that through meditation, we're able to quiet that mind, that human egoic mind that keeps us small, that tells us, oh, you must be crazy. You're not hearing that. You're not seeing that. You're not feeling that. Through meditation, we're able to connect with our higher self. Our higher self is one of our best guides. Your higher self, he or she, is guiding you. They're trying to direct you. It's almost like, how would I explain it? You have so many, you're going on vacation, you have so many destinations in mind, but you have the free will to stop at a place or not stop at a place, right? So, having the ability with your higher self, you have free will while you're here. So you don't necessarily have to follow with the guidance you're giving, but, because that's a human experience with the free will. But as a soul, your soul wants to grow and expand while it's here. And so
Learn.
meditation, learn. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, do you have any examples on how we can connect to our guides or find out if we have guides or how many guides?
Everybody has guides.
Everybody has guides. Okay. So how do we know where they are?
Some people have as much as 250 guides, I've heard.
What? Oh my gosh. 200.
And so some guides spend your lifetime with you. Other guides come in here and there. Anthony's my strongest guide right now, but I'm just writing my second book, and he brought in 3 new guides for me to work with, interdimensional beings that have been in my soul group, my soul family. So I am learning how to work with those guides on an individual basis. But simply, and we're not taught this, you can simply ask, sit in meditation. I don't care how long it takes you. People say, I can't meditate. You can. It's not what you think. It's not about shutting those voices off that you're hearing. It's about allowing those messages to come through. So you can simply sit in a meditation and ask, who are my guides? You can do like a guided meditation. There's wonderful meditations on YouTube. To meet your spirit guides. I think I have a free one on my YouTube channel about how to meet your spirit guide.
So you have a YouTube channel?
I do. It's not very
Awesome.
good. It's not very good because I'm not very technological at all.
I think that people think we.
Can I ask some questions? Is that
Sure.
okay?
Sure. Go
Okay,
ahead.
there are some questions that are being asked that are just absolutely fabulous. One of them is asking about what a past life regression is and why we would need it. Could you just kind of explain about that so people know a little bit more? I know Doris knows more than some people, but some people, I didn't know anything about what a past life regression was when
So
I
it could be a
started on this
past
journey.
life regression. It's called past life regression, but it doesn't necessarily have to be a past life. We can look at a future life. We can look at an in-between life. You can be an animal. You can be on another planet. So it can be an interdimensional life. There's all these things. But what it is we take you through a light hypnotic trance and we do some meditation and guided visualization. And through that, we're able to connect with your higher self, your subconscious. So your subconscious is speaking. These are things that your subconscious knows that, you wouldn't know as a conscious being, but your subconscious. So when we incarnate and incarnate and incarnate over all these lifetimes, this lifetime I chose to come in as Terri Ann, but other lifetimes I chose to come in as other beings. In this lifetime now, as Terri Ann, I want to learn about those other beings, why I do the things that I do. People have past life regressions for many different reasons. A big reason is they're curious. Another one is maybe they have a phobia. They were drowned. They have a fear of swimming. So when we do a past life regression, 9 times out of 10, I'd say that there would be a drowning that occurred through that soul's experience in another lifetime. And that lives in that person's cellular memory. So our cellular memory holds on to all of that. Does that make sense?
That's wonderful. And we have a lot of people saying that this makes sense to them. I have people asking if it can be done by internet. And you'd already said that that's something that you're able to do, everything
Yes.
except for the readings. Dorothy's asking a really good question too. And I know what I think your answer is going to be, but I want to see what you're going to say. How do you know if your child passed because of a soul contract? A lot of other people have kind of reiterated what she was saying. Could you just kind of speak to that?
How do you know if they what?
If they passed because of a soul contract. Could you kind of explain that? Or I'm sure you have.
We have different exit points that we can exit our life. It's usually 3. Some do have more. I've heard from my guides that my daughter has as many as 10, which seems to be a lot. But it makes sense with the stuff she came in with. So we have at least 3 exit points in our life. Your soul is going to determine that when it's accomplished what it needed to accomplish while it was here. So it could be when they're young, when they're first born, when they come in their middle years, or it could be later years. If the soul has accomplished that in that time period, then, it will exit. And it's hard to swallow because, I have this conversation with my mom all the time. She's like, how could he have completed his contract? He was only 27. How could he have done what he needed to do? And I'm 70 and you're 50 and we haven't done what we needed to do. So it's interesting when she says that, but yeah, a lot of it is about soul contracts.
Well, Dixie's asking a very good question. That's a follow-up to that. And that is, do you know why some people get a choice to return and others do not? Could you address that maybe?
From what I've heard, some people get a choice to return because it's not their true time to go. I've had a near-death experience when I was very sick back in 2017, and I was really sick, and my husband gave me a little baby dose of our daughter's albuterol, and I went into cardiac arrest. And I was leaving, and I had a premonition 2 weeks before this that I was going to die, and I told him, and he's like, "Oh, you're just being overly dramatic. You'll be fine. Don't worry about it." And so 2 weeks later, I went into cardiac arrest. I was able to watch them working over my body, and I could see my family, but I was very pleased about where I was going, so it just felt beautiful. And I heard, "Go back," and that's all I heard. And before you knew it, I was back in my body. So it's my belief that it just wasn't their time.
That's so interesting. And I love hearing that. And I think that it's important for people to understand that um, from what you're saying, really what has happened to our kids is because of the fact that they have completed their contract. They've done everything that they need to. They are now home and we're still in school and we have stuff to learn here. But they learned everything they needed to. And Dr. Mark Pitstick, who works with us, once said to Irene, who's the vice president of Helping Parents Heal, isn't it cool that Carly got everything that she needed to do out of the way at 24 and was able to graduate home, which I think is beautiful. And I think that that's really important for all of us to understand that really the most important thing about this journey is that we get rid of all the guilt, because there's no guilt there. We have done exactly what we're supposed to, and we're going to see our kids again. And when we do, it's going to be as though not 1 second has passed.
And they're really our greatest teachers. You know, I said in the beginning, I was like, it's not fair that he's so advanced. And I'm not that advanced because, and he told me, I'm your teacher, you're the student now. So it's about reversing those roles and accepting that
and taking what they're giving us and saying thank you. And Darcy's saying, she was asking about our guides. Are our children our guides now? Would you say that that's
yes,
the case?
Absolutely.
So obviously, Anthony is your guide. All of us have our own children guiding us, along with maybe 250 other guides.
And then they guide you. They guide you to other people too. So like I was guided to Leslie. I don't even remember how Leslie and I connected at the time. I think she may have just popped up somewhere, and I was like, well, let me give her a call from Helping Parents Heal in Sedona. And I had never heard of Helping Parents Heal before. I never even knew anybody had lost a child prior to this. So for me, this was all, that experience was new. And there she was. And through our connection with Andre and Anthony, we've been able to connect on a deeper level.
She's wonderful. And so is
so you and I got connected through our.
Of course. Yes.
Absolutely.
That's how we ended up here. Somebody asked a really great question here. Valentina, can my son's soul get embodied into a new baby that my daughter's expecting?
So a fragment of his soul can get embodied into the new baby. People worry that their child will reincarnate and they won't be there when they get there. That's not true. Your child will be there when you pass over also. A piece of their soul can get reincarnated. So your soul, right? Anthony is a piece of that soul. Our soul's name, I happen to know our soul's name is Jahashra. Anthony and my experience is a little bit different because we have a twin soul, a twin flame, which I just found out after he passed. So we have the same soul. We decided to incarnate into this life with the same soul. So a piece of that soul came to me and a piece of that soul came to Anthony. Now, when you have a child that passes, so a fragment of that soul can then go into that new baby.
Wow, that's really cool.
It goes very deep.
Yeah, but I like it. So how did you find out about that? Because I haven't really heard anybody say that before.
He has started to talk to me. I never really studied twin flames. I had no interest in twin flames. And then when he passed, he told me his soul's name and it was Jahashra. And I was like, my soul's name is Jahashra. What are you talking about? And he's like, we're one soul. We incarnated at the same time. We're one soul, twin flame. So I asked Roz and Ivory, I'm like, have you ever heard of this happening? And so, yes, they did. And so I did a past life regression on myself. And what happened was in another life, Anthony and I were husband and wife. I passed suddenly in an accident and he watched me die. And so in this lifetime, I chose to come in as his mother and experience that for our soul's growth, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. That is fantastic. Wow. Are there angels that choose to live in a human life?
Angels, no.
I didn't think so.
Most angels and ascended masters have never been human.
Okay, another question is, can you ask during an angel reading what our purpose could be, and will they answer?
Yeah, so angel reading is like a psychic reading. I'm getting intuitive information from your higher self, your guides, and your angels. And so, yes, you can ask that.
Okay. Teresa says, I've heard there is a long earth time break between lives.
I think everybody's different. I've heard various things about that, when you go home and you need to rest, you need to heal, you're now in spirit again. They also, what I've been taught was that they will wait for you. So like, I'm not supposed to go for another 30 years, say. Anthony will still be there when I go.
Terri Ann, could I just say something very
Mhm.
quickly too? I just want everybody to know that we spend time here and we spend time over there. And like you said, 1 foot here and 1 foot on the other side. I think we spend time with them at night when we're dreaming. We don't even necessarily remember those dreams. But I love what you said about a fragment of our soul comes back, because I've actually heard George Anderson say that when a child transitioned, their parent was over there to greet them, who was alive here on earth, because we're in so many different places at the same time. So one of the things
That's
that
where
I've
that
learned,
quantum, it goes very deep. Sometimes it's very hard to put into actually words.
right? But I guess the main thing is that, yes, if you are worried about having your child reincarnate while you are still here, they'll be there no matter what. They'll be here. They might also be visiting another friend in another part of the world at the same time, or maybe
Because
even in.
it's past, present, and future all occurring at the same time.
Exactly. That's beautifully said. Sorry, I just wanted to throw that in, because I love the fact that I do spend time with Morgan all the time, and with Chelsea, and I don't necessarily remember it, but it's so uplifting. So I asked them to come and visit me at night, and I know that we do lots of stuff together, and I don't necessarily, remember it in the morning, but I know that I have that capability of being with him as well. So, and then what you were saying, if you could just go a little bit further on that near-death experience. I know you have 5 kids at the time. I'm not sure how many you had, but were you ready to just go ahead and leave right then if you would have been able to, or what was your experience at that time?
So as a human, when I had the premonition 2 weeks before, it scared me. I wasn't, my daughter, I think, was, how many years ago was that? She was 7 at the time. She was my youngest, and I was not ready to leave. I can't leave this child. So it scared me a lot. And then when it actually occurred, I knew that if I was supposed to go, where I was going was so beautiful, so full of love and peace, that even though I could see my family crying and gathered around me, I knew where I was going was where I was supposed to be going, if that makes sense.
Well, and not only that, but I think that one of the things that we learn in those near-death experiences is that this lifetime is like a blink of an eye, and that and you kind of see the bigger picture, that it is all a learning experience. And when we understand that we're all here to learn, that's what we're doing, but more importantly, to be kind to each other and to love each other and to understand that we're all one, then it all makes a lot more sense. And all of these horrible things that seem to happen to us are actually just thrown at us, first of all, because we decided to do them in our soul contracts, but second of all, to help us learn. So anyway, I'm sorry. There's a great question that Beck is answering. Doris, can you ask that question of Terri Ann?
Is she down at the bottom?
Yeah,
Because
at the bottom.
I'm still looking at some of these other amazing questions. What are your thoughts on suicide in soul contract, and suicide not being in soul contract?
I don't believe that it's not a soul contract. I'm sure people will disagree with me, but I also believe, I do believe that we can have that free will to exit. It's also my belief that that is part of a life lesson for that soul to learn while it's here. And then from what I know about suicide is it's very difficult. So, you know, if a soul does come back, it could be a harder lesson that they need to learn next time. But I don't believe that it's not a full-on soul contract.
So we have so many people saying, thank you. I feel like my son was my twin flame. Dan says, I think I instinctively knew what you are saying about one soul. It feels right. Valentina said, thank you for answering her question. I was told my daughter and I have a twin soul. Darcy says, our children who have transitioned young, are they old souls? Like when you
Sometimes.
transition, are you an old soul or can you be a mature soul or a young soul?
It varies. Usually old souls have very knowing eyes. That's one thing I've noticed about them. You can look into their eyes and just, they know things that they shouldn't know. You know what I mean? Like he said to me, oh, you know, I chose you to be my mom. You know, so stuff like that. Or they'll say things, oh, you remember when I was your mom or I was your dad, I was nicer to you, you know? So they may say things and that will lead you to believe that they are an older soul. You know, newer souls, just because they're a child doesn't mean they're an old soul. So every soul is different. You'd have to look at that individual and see whether they were an old soul or a newer soul.
Could I just go a little bit further on what you were saying about suicide and soul contracts? I have been told by several people that people who choose to exit by suicide are truly old souls because they do it to be able to help all of us grow. And I don't think that that's necessarily what everyone needs to believe or has to believe, but I think it's fascinating to think that, you know, a lot of times in society we make it such a stigma, but this is something that's a huge potential for growth as well. And so
Absolutely.
anyway, sometimes I've been in meetings where there have been psychics or mediums who are there who are saying to the moms, your son is huge, bigger than life. He's like one of these huge guides who might have, you know, transitioned by suicide. And so I think that the most important thing about those soul contracts is that you take whatever resonates with you and you leave the rest behind, just like pretty much everything.
And you know, I say we're not going to know it all till we go.
Of course we aren't. That's for sure, definitely.
Because we're still learning too.
But the most important thing about it is that it's all about love, this journey. Yes. So anyway, sorry, I didn't want
to. There's this really good question, but I think I know the answer to it, but I'm gonna let you answer it. Can a life regression work if we just lost our recent? See, I think where she's going with this, I phoned Kathy in California, is what you're asking, I believe you're asking is, can I get a life regression about my child if they just recently passed? But life regression doesn't necessarily bring your child who passed into the life regression.
No, not unless that's what the higher self wants. So the past life regressions are guided by our higher self or oversoul. They bring in the most pertinent information that will come through for that person's highest and best good, what that person needs at that time. So it's not necessarily like if it's like in a mediumship reading. Before Anthony passed, I had never had a client that had come to me before 3 or 4 months. So for me, it was just very something new to have him pass so suddenly and have that connection with him. That was also growth for me. So sometimes, I don't know if she's thinking that a mediumship session different than a past life regression session.
Yeah, Darcy asks kind of the same question. She says, does a between lives regression reveal why our child left before their time? But they don't, they do leave before their time though. I mean, they leave because that's their soul contract. So I had a past life regression, and my daughter did not come into my past life regression.
Right. I think
So
it
if that-
really depends on what your higher self wants for you out of it. Anthony told me, you know, according to my standards, that his time was cut short, but there is no time according to his standards. So you can't argue with that.
If there's no time. I'm told we can go to the life we most need to see, correct? That's from Suzanne. I'm told that we go to the life we most need to see, correct?
In a past life regression, we go through a couple of lives depending on how lengthy and what needs to come out of it. So like I said, not everybody is looking for something specific. Some clients come to me, they're just very curious about a past life. So they don't really have anything specific that they're looking for. And that's one of the things about past life regressions. You can't have any expectations. I want to see, you know, this and this and this, and you can't have any expectations because your higher self is going to decide what is for your highest and best to get out of that session.
I agree with that 100%. Katie says, thank you for this meeting, Doris and Terry. This is a gift for me. Both my girls are souls and picked me. I have lost one. My other is a risk due to her grief. I'm not sure what exactly that means. And then we have somebody that says, I have read that some old souls are healers who live to a very old age. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I think it's individualized. You know, I sometimes feel like I'm an old soul, but obviously I'm not as old as him, or I would have accomplished what I need to accomplish while I was here.
Well, it sounds like because you were twin flames, that it was a decision on who was going to stay and teach, or who was going to teach on the other side.
And you have to understand, when you're in spirit, everything is wonderful. I'm like, yes, send me. I'll take this mission and I'll do it. I'll be your mom and I'll be okay, you know? And then I'm here and I'm like, I would have never signed up for that.
So Sanjita, she says, so I used to have visits in my deep sleep before my son passed, but I couldn't understand then also vision that I'm going into light and taking people into light, but still couldn't get this hint of my son passing now that he has gone deep. Sleep visits have stopped. So it sounds like at some point her sleep visits have stopped with her child.
You know, it's my belief too that they're very busy. They're very busy. They're not just, Anth has told me on several occasions, you guys are not my only job. So, you know, we're not the only, he has a lot of other work to do. And while they're still in spirit, they are learning. They go to school, they're still looking to heal those things that they took from earth now into spirit. They've got to heal those things. So they're still growing and expanded while in spirit, helping others, not just us.
So this one is a really good question from Teresa. I like this one. And I can relate to it. So if a person isn't good at relaxing, can they still have past life regression successfully?
I've never not had a client go through at least one past life regression life. Have I had clients that it's been harder? Yes. Some, and that's why I try to get them to do some sort of visualization before. It's a lot about opening up, because a lot of times we want to block what we're seeing, feeling, or hearing. And so we want to do it, but we don't want to do it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
And so I've never had a client that wasn't able to. And if they're not able to, I know some of my colleagues will intuit that information for them.
Okay, so we only have time for probably just one or two more questions. It's 7:56 and we want to respect your time. So Anna says, what do they do in spirit? How do they grow? And when they grow, why do you want to come back? I want to learn as much as I can so that I don't ever come back. That's because she wants to be with her boys.
Right. And I say the same thing. I want this to be my last go around. But when you get into spirit, you think differently. We come back because earth is school. We come here for our soul to learn, grow, and expand. And we cannot learn, grow, and expand the way we can here when we have harder trials and tribulations that help our soul to expand. So when we get to spirit, we're like, yeah, everything's great, but I still want to go back again, and I want to learn more, and I want to grow more this time. How can I grow more? So each of us set up those things when we come into this reality that we want to learn and grow from these experiences.
Okay. So I think we feel so euphoric there and bite off more than we can chew. Yes. I kind of like that, bite off more than we can chew.
Yeah, because it's so different there. I kept saying, when I get, the first thing I'm going to do when I get there is smack them in the head. I would have never agreed to this. And that was early on, but I still had a lot of grief at that time about it. And, like I said, it's just for parents who've lost a child, it really is about our soul's growth and expansion that we're going to receive. And our child really wants us to be able to grow and expand through such a hard time, a difficult time, and they're there to support us every step of the way.
Okay, so it's 7:58. So we're done with our. Yeah, that went quick, didn't it?
I've unmuted everyone so they're able to say thank you and goodbye to both of you.
Hi, Leslie.
And this was a wonderful meeting. Goodness gracious. Thank you, Doris.
Thank you all.
Terri Ann.
Thank you, Terri.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Terri.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Come back. Please come back.
Thank you. Yes, please come back.
And
Thank
see you
you.
tomorrow, 3
Thank
o'clock Eastern Standard Time. If you'd like to join
Yes.
Doris and I with Trisha Robertson and Mark Ireland, we'd love to have you. And thank you all. Have a nice evening.
Thank
And
you.
love
You too.
Good night. See everybody.
See you later.
Thank you.